Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Party Makes Things Worse, Song of the Reliquary. I am your GM for this game. My name is Ethan. I am joined by my fantastic players as always. I've never started this way, and I don't know what made me start this way this time. It is a completely different opening script for no reason. Our adventuring party has been delving from the city of Bastion down into the Tomb Desert, seeking treasure there. I'm going to give our recap of last session in just a few moments here, but first things first. It's time for us to dish out some character facts. So, who would like to kick things off on this one?
I'll take the first one. It's going to be pretty short, so sorry, everybody. I'm not going to buy you a lot of time to think of a good one. Harold has never been on a date before. It just always felt like, maybe one day after I get this promotion, when I get back from this expedition, I'll look into it. And Harold just never has the time. So he hasn't sort of experienced that facet of life.
Has Harold had romantic relationships with just no dating attached?
No, none. I think he's had sort of like an emotional connection forged through the time of a quest, but it doesn't lead to anything. So.
Okay, really painting a picture of Harold in a hayloft somewhere. Okay, good to know. Who's up next after Harold?
I guess when Hilver was working at the archives, one day he came in and was kind of like pleasantly surprised that he had a coworker managing that kind of like dark recess of the archives with the fragments and tedium that he was sort of like dealing with there. And after a little while, a couple days in fact, he started to suspect that the coworker was not a coworker, but turned out to be a ghost that was sort of like haunting his area of the materials. And like it seems like they might have like been coming to Cradle like on a quest for something there, and they couldn't quite make it there themselves before dying, and so like their ghost kind of finished the journey to an extent but wasn't able to kind of like fulfill that little quest that they had. So Hilver kind of like tried to help them out a little bit with the periodicals and archive and like remnants and stuff, but was never really able to find it until the ghost sort of started to like get a little more faded, and eventually he had to kind of like decide it was time to like bring this ghost back, and had to bring its kind of semi-catatonic like form to the threshold between Cradle and Prospect, and sort of had to go on a little antic of that he didn't tell his superiors about the ghost being there because he kind of thought it would wrap itself up, and had to sort of like sneak him out and then get over to the thing, kind of like and kind of find a more inconspicuous like roundabout way to get to the threshold. So that's where his like air breathing kind of enchanted item came in. He kind of had to like pick that up to go through an area that the rest of the Guardians don't normally go to get the ghost there, and finally was able to say farewell.
Hilver, you're really painting yourself as kind of the loose cannon of the Guardians in a way that I think is pretty good. You're really a maverick. You breaking all the rules in a way that I think is really pretty funny.
I imagine there's a couple out there like them, but a lot of them is like maybe they don't like ask questions, or they kind of do it subtly enough that like there are like loose cannon moments here or there for kind of like all of them, and it's just they've all kind of like slipped under the radar. So it's like there's this veneer maybe, and then the chaos that's happening on occasion too.
There you go. Fair enough.
I think every organization is just a series of loose cannons that are slipping things under the radar.
Yes, that's fair. All right, who's up next? Beige or Lemon?
I'll go.
Oh, no go.
Are you sure? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So Lemon's favorite color, believe it or not, is not yellow. It is pink. And it was not of his own choice. Back years ago, his youngest sister demanded that his favorite color be pink, and it just stuck. So now, anytime he gets a chance to color anything, it's pink.
I mean, strong reasoning.
In Glint's wake, you don't get to color many things very often, but he kind of has a cornerstone on pink.
There we go.
Does Lemon wear pink?
He has a little bit of pink on him, not much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is
Pink.
the adornment? What's the accoutrement that's pink?
It is a little like
Lower back tattoo.
Yes.
It says juicy.
Handkerchief that is attached to his like hip loop.
There you go.
So wait, pulling back. I need to change some things in my head. If we zoom all the way back to when we were on the airship fighting the dragon, and we all had our mouths covered to avoid the dust and skull particulates, that was a pink bandana.
Oh, it was definitely.
All right,
pink.
I just needed
a
to make
hot
sure we were
pink.
all on board for that. Yeah, cool. That's good.
Lemon's got a lot of Legally Blonde merch at the house. And that's a fact. All right, go for Beach.
Beach's.
While I fix all our
character
cameras.
fact. Okay. Sorry, my computer did something weird. My Beach's fun fact is, yeah, he actually has a lower back tattoo. It's pink and it says juicy. Just kidding. Actually, although he would consider.
That's going to be a future character.
I'd buy
fact.
that. Yeah, bank that.
I'll give you this. Beach does have a lower back tattoo, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is.
But I'll never tell.
I'll never tell what it says. I went away again. My character fact for this week is just a mental image for everyone. So obviously, Beej and his brother Beej were both bards, so they could sing and play instruments and do all the things. And his family would, frequently at holidays, things like that, make them, do a performance. And because Beej, because Beej was, a little bit of a black sheep of the family. His brother, Beej, would make him do the sort of two kids in a trench coat situation, but other Beej was the head and Beej was just the body. So Beej would have to play the instrument, and then other Beej, Beej's brother, Beej, would have to sing, and he would be like the face, and like his family would like love it. It was like their act. And like the first time, Beej was like, oh, haha, fine, whatever, because other Beej is only 3 feet tall, if you remember.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Tieflings can be medium or small now. And Nicole went,
Okay, good to know.
He's a very short tiefling.
Beej the Younger.
Beej, yes.
Beej the Younger.
And so, because of that, there's just this picture, they did it once. Bless you.
Sorry.
They did it this
That's
once.
Little Beach sneezing.
Little Beej, yeah, always interrupting figures. But yeah, since they did it that one time, Beej was like, oh, haha, that's so silly and funny and goofy, because Beej likes to have a good time. But then his family loved it way too much, so then he had to do that every holiday, even into their older years. They still do it.
Now you have set up something very important in this moment. For those of you watching who maybe did not watch all the way back to the beginning, this is also when we learn for the first time that Beej the Younger is a supervillain and awful. So that's good to know. I wasn't sure if Beej the Younger was this cherubic bard that was just very sweet. So there is a darker undertone to this character. By the way, thank you for the gift of Beej the Younger, which is what I will refer to your younger brother as for the foreseeable future, so I don't get confused.
Beej the Smaller, as I call him. He's not a bad guy. He's just one of those guys that's he is nice, but you want to hate him. You're that guy's awful, but really he's nice. He's one of those.
In the best case scenario, he is inconsiderate, given what we've learned of young Beej the Younger thus far. The best case scenario is that Beej the Younger is a moron and just doesn't think about other people for even a second throughout the day.
Beej the Younger sort of gets carried away in his plots and fun, and then that sort of makes him seem like an asshole.
Everybody loves Beej the Younger. You know what I mean? They're oh, Beej the Younger. Oh, Beej with no C. Oh, I love Beej. But that it doesn't go to his head, but he does like it.
I'm just trying to figure out to what degree we are Meet the Robinsons, that kid that was they all hated me. And then he goes down the hallway and they're like, what's up, Goop? And I'm just trying to place Beej on that marker somewhere. All right, cool. All right, Nick, you are just in time. Do we have a character fact for Bartholomew? For Bart Silvertongue? You are muted.
The fun thing about character facts is you can say like his favorite color is green, or you can say he's 5'1". You can
Or he
really
has a
say
lower back
anything.
tattoo.
Or that he has lower
Or
back
he's
tattoo.
never dated. You know.
You know, in the spirit of events last night, Bartholomew heralds from a small town near Bastion, and where he actually got some of his ideas of representing different prophets actually goes back to an old deity, like a smaller known god that takes the form of a bird. Sometimes this bird could be in the form of an owl, it could be a hawk, it could be a pheasant. But the idea is that Bartholomew kind of watched the prophets kind of learn this way before he ventured his way to the train. But in the end, these people would use this deity for everything in terms of celebration, but especially for sports. And the way they would bless you is to say, "Go Birds."
Cupboards.
Go Birds. So the
And on
great
that
song,
note,
to be
too-
clear. So let me make sure I understand. What you've made canon about our fantasy world, is that there is a god of birds called Birds.
It's
Nice.
a god bird with an unknown name.
So everybody just calls it
Not
Birds.
they're known, but they call it the Birds, where the birds guide you.
That is so
Go
good.
with the birds.
Go with birds.
Go with birds. And also with you.
and also it's a typical greeting. So even during those tavern brawls, go with the birds. Yeah, you go with the birds too. Punches.
I've
And
heard
in a brawl, you have to say it fast, and
I-
that's you just
I've-
say go birds.
I've heard the land the birds come from has a lot of riots during sporting events.
Yeah,
I've heard
that's
that,
great.
which is weird. I heard they
Yes.
threw batteries at a guy, which is weird because there's not batteries. So that's probably the most impressive part.
That was, and yeah, even to the points where people would try to mimic birds and try to climb up the poles. They had to be greased to prevent that and fruit you deaths.
There are a couple low-level
Uh,
wizards just like slow
Again,
fall.
this is Bartholomew's people.
I love-
And me in real life. My people, go birds.
I love the idea that like every bungee jumping business has like 9 level 1 wizards whose only job is to just stand there and featherfall. If something goes wrong, is hysterical. All right, so with character facts out of the way, we are going to get underway with today's session. All right, let me double check, make sure I've got I do. All right, so last time on The Party Makes Things Worse, our band of adventurers took on the Oracle, a hulking construct made of iron that was wielding this massive hammer and also seemed to be able to cancel out a lot of magical abilities that were used on it. That hammer constantly teleporting and then reappearing in its hands as it swung around the battlefield. After a statistically shocking number of natural 20s, the Oracle fell, and the Silver Dragonborn that it had helped captive...
Because I wasn't there.
Oh
Because I
no!
wasn't
We
there,
don't know
y'all.
that's true. That it was held captive was saved. The Silver Dragonborn was saved. They revealed their name to be Corvain Vemelide. They are an evoker of Remgastelon. And the gnome, who you had signaled previously, also arrived towards the end of the episode. You guys studied the construct and discovered that within was a withered man with long beard and hair, impaled on spikes and slowly singing this strange song. You managed to safely remove him with a result of 37 on a medicine check, and he revealed himself through your clever use of Elvish to bypass the sort of language barrier to be Zeriak the Seer, a wizard of the Lost Arcane Empire. Although you haven't identified who that is, you fled deeper into the atrium as the rest of the caravan arrived, seeing Calhoun Miller firing grape shot of cannonballs into the crowds of assaulting creatures that are trying to protect the entrance. You quickly found a safe place in a small building that was embedded in the wall, the inside lined with stained glass depictions of several different figures, and that is where we left our troop behind. But we are going to start in another time, in another place. We open on a wide cobblestone street. The gaps between the stones are caked with sand, and everything is only illuminated by the light of the moon, which is almost blazing in the sky overhead. We see a blur of pale blue robes, and we watch Zariak, but much younger. He is healthier looking. His beard is bushy, but a brown color, almost to the point of being black. He has long, wavy hair, not quite curly, not quite straight, and is at a full sprint, carrying in his arms a massive scroll case, bearing a symbol on the side that those who knew would recognize as the Planetarium of Mellowvein, one of the lost sites of the Arcane Empire. As he is sprinting, we see him come to the end of a long stretch of road, whip to the left down an alleyway, and as he hits the next clearing, an arrow thwacks into the ground by his feet, stopping him. He leans up just in time for another one to land directly in front of where his face just was. He turns around and runs the other way. We hear him, in his mind, receive a sending spell. With just 25 words, we only catch the beginning of Zariak, you've been expected for... And just as he turns the last corner, we see the massive flat end of a warhammer swing out of an alleyway and catch Zariak. His feet fling in the air, he lands on the ground, everything goes black. And sitting around in this room, lined with its glass reliefs, we see Zariak's eyes open as an old man, and he takes a sharp breath in, feels at his hands, and looks around. And I will ask, what does Zariak see as he looks around the room? What is everybody doing? You've had just a few moments to catch your breath. The door has been shut, the lock has been latched. You all blissfully discovered that the locking mechanism did still work and could be locked from this side. So you have a rare moment to catch your breath in this strange space surrounded by these stained glass windows. The last thing we heard was that at least 2/3 of the group needed to get some sleep and get some spell slots back. So I will ask, what is everybody doing?
Harold is looking at the hammer that he got, and he's trying to discern whether it's cursed or not.
Okay. I like that. All right, so go ahead and make an Arcana check. Does anybody in the crowd here have Identify?
I do.
Okay, so that's really good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you looking at it, and before a demon makes a contract with Elaine, just check that out.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what to look for about cursed items. So here you go. I rolled a 6.
Okay, there we go.
This will have to be a... Actually, I could do this one instantly if I want.
So burn a spell slot or take 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
We're
because
setting
I have...
up camp anyway. So
Yeah.
I would say do the ceremony.
Yep. Do the ceremony, not the...
Do the ceremony, not... Because there's a chance somebody breaks into the big glass window in the middle of our nap time.
Yeah.
So
I
I would say
at
do the
least-
ceremony to keep the slot.
Yeah,
I was going to say there's two things I actually want to identify.
Okay.
So I'll do the spell slot for this one, and then I'll do the ritual on the other one.
Sure, whatever you think.
Yeah. So I'll identify this.
So you identify the hammer first.
Yes.
Okay, as you channel through some of your magic into this item, trying to divine its purpose, I will tell you the sort of mundane answer, and then we'll go over the mechanics very briefly. I assume you would hear in your head, probably in the voice of Glint, which is not something that we have discussed too much, but is we know is at least a somewhat relaxed kind of angle. What were you about to say?
How I use this spell, identify. I do inspect it like I'm inspecting a gun.
So you're sort of taking a
Except for-
look. Okay, yeah, cleaning
check
up.
the balance of it, see how it reloads, all that.
You hear, this hammer is Foretold Judgment. An age spent basking in an aura of divination has left this weapon forever changed. Once a grim tool of executions, now at last it is a weapon with an uncertain future. Foretold Judgment is a +1 great hammer. It holds up to 3 charges. You can expend 1 charge to cast Hunter's Mark. It restores 1d3 charges on a long rest. So you're not guaranteed to get them all back every day. Foretold Judgment also has the ability to cast True Strike, the cantrip, basically at will, which means that a caster could wield this weapon with at least passing proficiency, assuming they were strong enough to pick it up. It requires attunement, and once it is attuned, it would adjust to the size that the wielder would find it to be most beneficial. Right now it is large, and so it is kind of comically unwieldy.
Good. I'll let Harold know.
No demon.
Nah, you're good.
All right. And I grab it and I say, when I go to bed, I'm going to be thinking about this hammer.
So there you are. You have this. I'm curious how Harold feels knowing that this is a sort of executioner's tool for the Vemeral, such as it is.
I mean, it's certainly going to be an executioner's tool for the Vemeral, am I right, boys? Yeah!
All right, fair enough. I hope Harold actually makes that joke. So what's the second thing you're casting Identify on?
The magic orb that we got.
Oh, the stone from inside of the gauntlet.
The stone, yeah. I ponder the orb.
You cast a second Identify spell.
Yeah, this one's ritual, so it'll be 10 minutes.
This is a tethering stone. This blue gem is a grim invention of the Vemeral, made to subjugate the countless enemies they had made abroad. You get the sense that this could apply itself in a number of ways. You would need to mount it to something. There are two principal things that it can do. The first is it can be used as a lash, like as a whip. And you saw it do some of what it can do there, where it can prevent spell casting to some degree. The second thing that it can do is that calling and releasing of that weapon that you saw. It can do either thing, but it needs to be properly attached and put together by somebody. To do both, it requires an obscene amount of power to be flowing through it. Hence, the Archmage they had plugged into its battery. So you would need to get this to an artificer that would need to fuss with it. And I will say, out of character, if you can think of something that I think if you understand what its core ability, right, is to like tether two things together and connect them in some way, and then it seems to be able to exert some kind of fine control. So if you could think of a sort of clever third thing you wanted to do, we could talk about it. It might make it take a little bit of time. It might make it a little harder. Some mix-ups might happen there, but we could chat that out.
All right, cool.
So that is what Lemon is doing with this time. Lemon sets out to work, first identifying the hammer, and then taking the much slower process of ritual identifying the stone. Who's up next?
I'll probably be examining these stained glass windows and stuff to see if any of the characters look familiar, or any of the iconography that's associated with them.
Absolutely. Let me look around for the little sheet of notepaper that should be right next to me. I have to pick up a stack of books because I'm a moron, and I put it underneath stuff. Why would I do that? I don't know. I just did.
To build suspense.
To build suspense. I like that. Yes. Okay. So you see a few figures kind of looking back at you as you stare. The ones that we had mentioned last time. The first that you see is that sort of barbarian, kind of stereotypical Conan-looking character in furs with a large, these like rough cast pitted axes. In another, you see the woman with a bow that is riding on an elk through a forest. I don't have the third down in my notes. I think I've got it. I must have it.
A man chained.
Yes, a man chained
teeth
to the ground, like sort of gnashing teeth to the sky. He seems to be at some state of discomfort. That is 3 of those that you see. Those are the ones that are sort of closest to the door. Beyond that, in another, you see just swirls of color that seem to mix and combine together, but at the very center, the central piece of glass is painted pitch black. In a fifth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. In a fifth, you see a sort of It's something between an elemental and a giant. It looks kind of like a stone giant, but even more primordial, but not quite just an earth elemental. You see that it is has a large hammer and is working over what is kind of hard to extrapolate from stained glass, but what looks to be a forge of some kind. And then in the sixth and final one, you see a pretty, going off of the scale you are looking at, a impossibly massive blue dragon. Just drastically too large. The small, you are confused for a minute by some of the smaller glassworks until you realize that they are supposed to be birds that are little pinpricks of black by its shoulders. And suddenly the rest of the image makes a little bit more clarity. And those are the 6 that you see before you.
All right. It seems like the swirls of color with the pitch black center, like the other ones have like entities depicted in them, and that one doesn't. So that seems kind of curious. I might go closer to that one to like kind of see why it stands out from the rest.
Sure thing. What do you do as you approach the glass?
I guess maybe I'll try and search my brain for whether like this is like some sort of like anomaly or something that is out there in Prospect or else or such.
Sure. Go ahead and make a religion check or a history check. And just let me know which of those 2 you do.
Alright. I'll cast guidance on myself as I try to like really dig into my mind and
Fair.
do a history check, I think, for this one. Guidance. 19.
A 19. Okay. All right.
Do like 4 of us have guidance in their kits?
Yes.
Because I've got guidance.
Guidance is just too good. You can't stay away from
Bee's
guidance.
got guidance.
With a 19, because of the nature of sort of how ancient this is, you are still going to have very limited information, Hilver.
Mm-hmm.
You know that in the distant past, there are many gods that have been forgotten. What you are looking at doesn't seem like a will-o'-the-wisp. It being in stained glass gives it this like feeling of divinity, and you notice that all of them seem to be kind of archetypical figures, right? They seem to be very much larger than life. The dragon is too large, the barbarian is sort of comically so. All of these figures. This like swirling of color with black at its center, in amongst these much more mortal-looking beings, would suggest that if this is a sort of divine entity, something that you would roll a religion check for, it is something kind of looser than being, the god of new beginnings, or the god of guns, or the gods of luck. Like, it is something, like, softer than that. And in the world of Prospect, that means that they are, exponentially more powerful. Gods of more abstract domains are drastically stronger than the gods of other domains. The ultimate example being the prime 3 deities, Respis, Verdurin, and Argist, who are the gods of magic, life and death, and nature. All 3 of which are so alien that they can barely be prayed to.
Alright.
And that's what you get with a 19. You get some sense that these feel like obviously divinely inspired, and if that is true, this would be a very different class of creature. Or divinity.
Alright. Well, it looks like this place has some sort of, like, divine aspect to it. I'm not sure if they would come here to pray, but I might be part of their old pantheon, perhaps.
Tough to know.
If Emerald had one.
As Hilver is sort of posing that question and studying, who is up next? Beej and Bartholomew, you are the 2 that are still on the board.
I think Beach would probably get to know our new friends and maybe ask them about what might have happened, like, for them to get here. Like, how did they get down here? Did they see anything
Sure.
on the way here that, maybe Beach would want to pay attention to?
Sure, so you're talking, there's 3 of them for you to talk to. One is this ancient wizard, Zariak, who is on the ground, sort of slipping in and out of sleep as he has been. Basically, the minute you laid him down, he like nodded off and has been like up every once in a while and then back down the way that, I don't know, babies will like come up and then down and then up and then go back down. Corvain Vemelide, who is the Silver Dragonborn, has been fastidiously taking notes and looking at the stained glass in the room, taking notes on the architecture in the room, trying to keep as like detailed of a record as you are. You can see that what he is in fact loosely working on in his book is like a little map of the tower and of this like atrium and where you have been and what he has seen, so that he can try to like make sense of it in his head. And you learn the name of your gnomish companion. This is Fitzpatrick Mendeldrop. And Fitzpatrick has been just standing by the door, holding a crystal in his hand. And if you go over at some point and ask what he is doing, he goes, just waiting to hear from... this is my voice. Wait, there it is. Sorry, just waiting to hear from the big man. He should be done soon. And he's just holding this crystal and waiting by the door. And he has been for like 10 minutes.
Is this the person that like he was with before?
He was with that big
Yeah.
like automaton, that big mech, and he's now just standing by the door holding this.
So okay, all right, no worries. Yeah, you can wait. That's no problem. I'll probably just ask them like, hey, what went on up there? I mean, we only caught like the tail end of it, but how'd you guys get in here? Anything interesting?
Corvain pipes up first and goes, well, we arrived, and I just, by the way, I listened back. I went way too hard last time. You could not understand a word Corvain said. I'm surprised you guys didn't go, what is he saying? You see that Corvain goes, well, I can speak for the mages of Remgastelon. We forged ahead of the others, trying to make sure that the front stayed sanctified and clear for details. Some of us in invisibility, so that we did not look too apparent. We approached the door. 2 of our number, taking the lead, found that there was a seal blocking it in the language of the Levilum Empire. There was a sort of wax seal with some kind of curse or spell on it. Naturally, the 2 of them set about to breaking it, and promptly were incinerated by powerful defensive magic, which was very sad. After a tasteful but short ceremony, we immediately attempted the same thing again, and succeeded on our second attempt, after which we found the very heavily reinforced stone door. Thankfully, the mages of Remgastelon seem fit to hire dear Fitzpatrick here to accompany and assist us in smashing the door down. That which he did, which was very helpful. And Fitzpatrick goes, yes, the construct has many talents, none quite as well as, knocking down doors and such. It is more proficient at damaging structures than creatures, if I am honest. It is very showy, but doesn't always make the strongest combatants necessarily in a tete-a-tete fight, as it were. And Corvain then says, and we were immediately brutally assaulted. Statues descended upon us from above, quickly killing a number of those that had taken the front positions, followed by creatures skittering on the walls, ones firing crossbows and similar things, and then finally that, for lack of a better term, witch, that flew up to us and began to cancel out people's magic and destroy my comrades. I sought to flank around her side, believing myself very clever, and was promptly captured by the Bastille, dragged into that den, mugged, and then you all saved me. And that's about how it all shook out. We figured we'd be in and have a foothold before anybody else arrived, and so could sort of have first dibs, as it were.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Although...
You all seem to have done it far more successfully. Each and every one of you is alive, which is
Listen,
apparently very impressive.
I didn't want to say it, Fitzpatrick. I didn't want to say it, okay? But I'm with you. Is your friend coming here? Or...
I'm staring at Beej. Yeah, we all lived very, very well.
If it helps, the mages will certainly pay out their families. And then Fitzpatrick chimes in and goes, well, I'm waiting on the big guy, waiting on my automaton to catch up with us. I told him to cause a big distraction and then sort of scurry his way around somewhere. He is
Scurry.
he's very large most of the time, but he can occasionally be
Okay.
small for brief
See,
amounts
okay,
of
now-
time.
I'm glad we cleared that up, Fitzpatrick. I was worried about your large friend.
He is large most of the time, but he is you could almost say most of the time he is large, but I can occasionally make him huge or moderate in size if we were to sort of place those in a spectrum of each other.
All right. Well, I hope he gets here safely.
Me too. He was expensive. And we sort of wrap on that conversation, and I will ask Nick, what is Bartholomew up to in this space?
He's just been listening to everybody, trying to take notes from whatever, anything he can get up from the wizard, and is just counting also in his little notes of everything in his bag of holding that they have taken so far.
Nice. So Bartholomew is keeping a good inventory and speaking to Zariak. I will ask, are you on the list of people that is using Elvish as an intermediary for him, or are you just writing down, like, phonetically what he is saying?
Phonetically, he is not,
Okay.
fluent.
So as he is sort of goes back to babbling in that the language of the Arcane Empire, you start to just transcribe what he is saying to the best of your ability. Notes that may be very helpful. Who knows what he will remember when he is in a position to try.
That's
Okay.
That's very nice. I wonder how much this would cost.
Yes, Bartholomew fighting his two great loves there. I like that. All right, so I will ask, so as things start to quiet down a little bit and as everybody is kind of calming down, you all set about to these separate tasks. They end at sort of similar times. Sometime around then, there is a knock on the door that is in a precise rhythm. Will probably something like shaving a haircut. And as that happens, Fitzpatrick stands up and goes, "Oh, goody!" Runs up, opens the door, and you see as that automaton, now just the size of a normal man, waves and walks in the door. It doesn't have a mouth and doesn't seem to be able to speak. Its face is basically like it has like a solid metal shape of a head, but with no like distinguishing features. The rest of its body is a mix of wood and metal, and in some parts there is clearly some like glow coming from underneath of whatever it is that powers it. It immediately looks around, looks up at the ceiling, and starts to like skitter around until it stops at one point, and then it does this, and then grows too large, and its head like barely fits up in the roof as it's bent, and it waves again. And Fitzpatrick goes, "Very good, righto." As I said, so this is the size he is most of the time. When he was breaking down the door, I had made him larger than this, and he can briefly make himself smaller, but only a few times a day. I thought the doors might be larger. They speak about the Vemeral as these, imposing figures, and I thought that maybe one of them was a giant or something, but I'm afraid my big gentleman here might not be able to come everywhere with us. And he gives it a like thunk thunk on its chest as he lifts up.
What's his name?
I don't suppose he really has one. I call him the big guy most of the time, but I don't know. He really just follows. He's not particularly, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I am fond of the creation. He is not sentient. He follows commands, relatively simple ones at that.
I mean, you already kind of gave him the name, Big Guy. So I'd say his name is Guy, and Big is sort of a modifier
That's
on
fair.
that. His name's Guy. It's easy.
Yes, making automatons, you learn to, you know how farmers don't always name their cows? Many adventures result in you leaving your automaton somewhere. So the first few had, like, names, and I would sort of, imagine a personality onto them, but then all of a sudden you're crying outside of a temple for a few hours after a failed adventure, and that's more stress than you need. And so the big guy, and the robot gives a like, basically you start to gather that you are basically watching like an emote wheel that is meant to respond to what he says, and so it does a sort of familiar. It does the exact same wave, and you're like, got it.
Oh, there it is. Cool. Well, I'm gonna go to bed.
Zariak in Elvish just points up and says, "Monster," and then goes back to sleep.
What'd he say?
Monster.
Oh, no, Guy. His name's Guy.
And he goes back to
I'll
sleep.
be like, I guess in Elvish I'll just be like, stature built to a incredible degree, as his name toward Zariel.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Friendly. All right.
Yeah.
I like it. He stirs a little in his rest. Zaryak is hard to always get up on his feet. All right. So sounds like we're heading towards making actual camp, sleeping here for the night?
Sounds good. I mean, as far as like, what you said about Harold about the things breaking through the windows, like they kind of try to see, or at least like the Vemeril keep this place pretty pristine. So hopefully they won't be destroying their own stuff to get to us. But any other adventurers in conflict that happens might leave openings. But
Hilver,
otherwise, hopefully we'll be safe.
Hilver, do me a favor. Make a perception check really quick.
All right. That's a nat 1.
Nah, man, you're good.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is we should probably make camp underneath the windows, so if anybody looks in through the glass, they won't be able to see us because we're going to be underneath sort of their perspective, so they won't be able to spot us. So we'll camp out in there.
That might be good too. Sounds cool.
Okay, yeah, you're just in this like circular, relatively small room. Like I said, it has like a small altar. Clearly, there is things that are meant to be done here, but it is just a very small space. So you watch as Corvain rolls out and Fitzpatrick roll out sleeping rolls to the various sides of the room. The large construct sort of stabilizes to some degree, gets into a more comfortable position, and seems to power off in some way.
Bartholomew gestures to the party. Well, you all have gone through
Ooh,
a
you're-
lot.
I can't quite hear you.
Gone through a lot. And how about I take watch for the whole night?
Whole night?
He pops out a potion of watchful rest. I shall be fine.
All right, you got yourself a deal.
Here we go.
I had this prepared in case we survived long enough. He drinks the watchful rest
Okay.
from his pack. He'll keep watch. But he has his motives.
All right. So then as everybody beds down for the night, if nobody has any closing business, I will ask, Bartholomew, do you get into any shenanigans as everybody snoozes down?
Bartholomew's a very genuine person. I have no idea what this person in my head's saying. As he continues to actually rummage secretly through Corvain's notes and tries to continue transcribing. See if there's anything else he's keeping hidden.
Okay, go ahead and make an investigation check and a stealth check as you try to pour through
Stealth and
Corvain's notes.
investigation.
Stealth to not be noticed, investigation to get the goods.
That's a 29 for the stealth.
Love that.
That is a 13.
13. Okay. With a 13, it is a little bit hard to make sense of Corvain's notes. They are extremely fiddly notes on the arcane workings of the things that he has found, occasionally swapping into talking about the history generally of the Deathwoken primacy. It's mostly things that you already know. I'm trying to think if there is anything I need to dig through for a card here. Actually, you do get a little bit of practical information. So, number one, you learn that the mage in charge of the mages of Remgastelon here is Orax Solden. You learn that name. And he is called an Arcanist, which, no check needed, you would know is a high rank in the mages of Remgastelon. Being an Arcanist is close to being an Archmage. It is like one step below that. You learned that the personal circle of the Arcanist Orax Solden is 3 people. Lomac Near, who is a guard, and is affectionately called a lie detector by his friends.
Sounds like a fun guy.
Wistoria Frey, an enchanter of Remgastelon. And I don't mean she makes magic weapons. She is a master in the school of enchantment. And a being called Sable that is listed as a Cantonac, but you would need to make a history check to see if you know what that is.
I'm gonna go for that.
Okay, make a history check.
12.
With a 12, you have no idea what that is. You have no idea. It's totally unfamiliar to you. Alongside that, you mostly find Corvain is deeply studying any magic that he finds. He is trying already to reverse engineer some of the runes that you saw in that Bastille. You see that he has been taking a lot of notes on the torch that Harold has without Harold knowing. He has been pretty closely examining the spell and the spell work on that torch, and has some notes about this room and about the windows. You do see that he notes something that Hilver and Harold have not, which is that the windows do not go into the atrium on the other side. That light just seems to be coming from the glass. If you only give it a brief look, it looks like it must just be filtering in from somewhere, but if you get closer, you realize that they are reliefs. That glass is mounted up against a wall, and that light is just coming from the glass.
LED strips.
Yeah, of course. You see there's an Amazon box by the door.
Keep that on the lights as are going to go out.
Oh, no.
But so Bartholomew, that is the bulk of what you find.
Yep. And Bartholomew scrubbing around, burning to himself very quietly. And of course, then he eyes one little piece of bread that he takes for himself. He's been very hungry.
Okay, Bartholomew grabs a little extra ration.
Bread.
Pulling a column.
Maybe a side effect from the potion.
Yeah, so extra character fact, Bartholomew is a stress eater.
Oh, there you go. It would also make sense that a potion of watchful rest would make you crazy hungry the whole time, because your body's I need the calories, brother. All right.
So he's going to try to creep a little bit out into the door and just kind of scout out what's going on outside.
Sure.
For the party, but also just kind of maybe start getting an idea of where their path's going to start for the next day.
Absolutely. Make another stealth and perception check.
So, 27 for the stealth, and perception. It's going to be 19.
19. Okay, 27 and 19 is great. You look up into the area up above, and you see a couple of things of note. You are about 3/4, maybe even 4/5 of the way down in the temple as it is that is around you. You are looking up at one of these larger buildings, this one with a large sort of flat structure that the wizard was very afraid of. You look over at that tower that you all avoided. Up into the corner, you can see the room that you left with those divining pools. And up to the other side, you can see what you now know through Zeriak to be the archive. Not through Zeriak, what you now know through Corvain to be the archive. With a 19, you see that the front of the archive now is being patrolled by mages of Remgastelon. Enough of them survived and seem to have actually managed to force their way into the archive and have now set up a perimeter. You see that there are some summoned creatures up there also keeping patrol. So they have quickly reinforced themselves. The large structure building in front of you that the wizard was afraid of, you can see that door is sealed. That is the door that you saw that sort of what is being tentatively referred to as the witch, seemingly by at least the mages, flew out of and then back into. That door is sealed, and on the outside of it, you see a figure who you might recognize. You would have heard mostly about him from other members of the party. This was the person from that edifice ship. This is the Viscount Faraday Mullerin. Is accompanied by a huge group of others, and you see that some of them are studying the wall around the door, some of them are inspecting the columns and the like, but Mullerin himself and a few others, including that gentleman with the long rifle, are inspecting the door and seem to be trying to blast their own way in. All around, you see blurs of movement, and occasionally you see clusters of the defenders of this place. These creatures that you've seen in their various different forms will rip out of one of those holes in the wall, smash into one of these groups. There will be a very quick and terrible fight that leaves pretty large casualties on both sides, and then they will retreat back into their dens. And so there is kind of a guerrilla war happening here. Every time a door is opened, there is resistance, people die, and then they push through. And it is seemingly just a question of who will push to what they want and who won't.
Yeah. And that's going to include the tower as well.
You don't see anybody trying to get into the tower. That doesn't mean there's nothing valuable in there. Everybody's kind of guessing. The interior of this place is a true mystery to most. But you don't see anybody trying to break in.
Bartholomew's going to take a quick risk and go toward the one captain. He's going to cast Disguise Self.
Okay, so the only thing you're going to need to do then is you are going to need to let the door shut and then try to pick the lock when you come back.
Yep.
Okay, so you step outside and the door shuts behind you. And so you are trying to make your way to the Viscount?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Viscount, that's yep.
So we can roll with your stealth check because I don't want to steal that from you here.
Yep.
It's not too long. You can get up onto the platform that he is on just through one of these like long winding staircases. It starts in a gentle curve and then tightens into a corkscrew for the last few of its steps. You manage to sneak up over that way until you are just close enough to overhear the edge of this conversation while I poke around for the
Yep. And
sheet on this gentleman.
He's gonna disguise himself as like one of the workers' powder monkeys, kind of like if he gets caught, he's a messenger, and just but he's gonna kind of hide and just poke around.
Sure. And I actually have to take away one of his cards because because Fitzpatrick got scooped from this guy. So you see that Faraday is looking through here. So you see that Faraday is a sort of tall-ish, lithe man. He is thinly built, but clearly muscular. He's not abnormally tall. He's just on a little taller than average. He's maybe 6 foot, 6'1". He has very gaunt face and is wearing this very formal uniform. Go ahead and make a fresh perception check for me as you are taking a look at this sort of new scene.
That's a 10.
With a 10, it's hard to see details. When he shifts his weight, you keep hearing a noise, like a metal noise, but you can't tell where it's coming from. So you can tell that he's got something on under his outfit, but you're not sure what. To his one side, you see a figure that you would definitely recognize. This is Morris. This is the person that gave you the dagger. Morris is, of course, accompanied by his very small little peregrine falcon, and is seemingly just keeping an eye out on the area around. You do see, as he is looking around, his eyes fall on the stairwell and you in your disguise, and he stops, and you look up and make eye contact, and you know that he absolutely knows that that's you, and just turns like you're not there and goes back to talking to the other two. And so you get the sense that he is going to follow through on his promise to be an ally. He does not call out that you are watching and turns back to his business. On the other side of Malaran, you see a woman in mostly like maybe bronze or sort of a gold colored armor, who is being accompanied on one side by this big hound made mostly of metal. This would be this is common among artificers, is to have these sort of large metal hounds to carry your things and be helpful. And the three of them are standing in front of the door and talking. You see that all told, they have maybe 40 to 50 people here. A lot of them taking notes, taking charcoal rubbings, some of them stripping stones out of the ground slowly, like working with hammers, knocking the whatever you call that stuff that they put between rocks. I don't know. What is that called? The
Mortar?
Yeah, knocking the mortar out and like taking stones out of the pavement and handing it off to people with bags of holding. Some of the others are like, you can see that some of the facade, this like carving, is like can be ripped off and is metal that has been like cut into, and they are like stripping it off and feeding it down into bags of holdings. And you see that there are a few that seem full. Like they've gotten to that like 500-pound capacity of a bag of holding, and they have been sealed, and a like wax seal has been put on them so that they cannot be opened, and they have been set to the side. It is quite the operation, and you know that this is barely a third of the people that were on the ship.
Given that he was unexpectedly seeing how big of a party it is and getting caught in the little distance, he decides, he gets his notes, he gets his little scouting report. Well, there goes some of my ideas. I'll be grateful for that. He starts sneaking his way back to there. He decides, as much as he wants to get at least one of the bags of holding, he did mean well in terms of the watchful rest and making sure his party is going to be fine.
Okay, so Bartholomew, you make your way back.
You get back, and I'll just... And a 23 is going to do for the lockpicking.
There you go. You get back,
There
open
you
the
go.
door, shut it from the other side.
And we're all dead. We've been, our
and
throats have been
everyone's
slit.
dead. You see there's
No,
a...
we're not dead. We're just sitting there like this.
You see,
the
there's
hell?
you see, there's a seventh stained glass window. Your entire party depicted in the pane. No, no, that is. You make your way back and breathe a small sigh of relief as you see that everybody is in fact fine in this space. And a short time later, all the rest of you wake up. It is the morning. It has been, I assume, a fitful night of sleep, unless any of you are very good at sleeping in new and potentially dangerous places. You are sort of catching your breath and getting your feet back under you, as it were.
I'd say I'm pretty good at it.
There you go. Yeah.
Bombardment.
Compared to being... I like that you've made it so that being from Glint's Wake, because of the constant bombardments, I hadn't thought of the volume, is like people that are from New York City and need to like blast music on their phone to sleep because it's too quiet if they don't have it.
Very true.
All right.
That's 8 sessions, first long rest.
Yeah.
Impressive run, guys. Let's go.
Yeah.
And no shortage of fighting. Truly.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, first here, I think we had one on the ship right after the dragon. But
True.
That was slow
That's
travel.
true.
Yes, after the
Yeah, I
dragon,
understand.
you got a long rest, but you were on the ship for another day after that, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
But yes, you had you had like 4 fights on the way here. Hasn't been that many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But you are now
All
up
right.
from your long rest.
So, we're going to try and break through one of the glass panes and jump out? Are we going to go talk to people? Are we going to go back out through the door up top?
I don't know if we want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Feels off with what we've been doing.
Corvain will pipe up and go, well, I certainly wouldn't recommend jumping through the glass. You'll just hit it's stone on the other side. You'll just shatter it.
Oh.
Why didn't you say that when I was saying my plan about laying down so they can't see us through the glass?
So you know what, Harold? That sounds good. I think you should try it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'm
kidding. I won't do that.
I thought you were thinking of earth elementals, creatures that could glide through the stone. I still thought it was clever.
Hey, I appreciate it. I wasn't, but I appreciate it.
Well,
So you're telling me that's not just empty space past that window? Everything I've known about windows is false?
No. I mean, it seems to be
This
made
time.
of. It seems to be made of glass, and it is, in fact, I would say it fits the definition of a window. Just think of it as a window that's looking at a piece of stone that's very, very close,
More
because
like
it is.
a mosaic.
Technically, it is still free-mounted on the top and bottom, so it'd be more of a window. But I see what you mean. Technically, it's also a mosaic, and he just kind of goes on for a little bit.
So we're not going to talk to people? I feel like we did this whole thing so we could get in before everybody else to get some stuff. Everybody's in now. I'm not against talking to people again and forging some alliances, relationships. You know, you take this part, we'll take this part, sort of situation. But I'm not, I'm just bringing it up.
Do you think Sunburst be open for some trades?
Probably. I'm sure there's whole merchants that tagged along that aren't going to go in. Right?
Yeah, some people are just going to set up
trades.
camp up top and sell their stuff
Yeah.
to the people coming back up and down. This is going to basically be a town for the better part of a week.
So if
It's
there's
more
something
fun than I thought this would be. I was depicting us as like dungeon crawling, not seeing the sun for
Oh, we're
months.
when we go out there into the big cavern main thing, we're probably going to be in there for a while. But for right now, we're only 15 feet deep in this, so we got easy access back to the top side.
Yeah, there's so for the record, we had talked about this before. There's two kinds of people on this trip. There are the people that are going to run in, tear stuff off the walls, go up to the camp, get it appraised by the scholars that have come along, and then leave. Those people are probably the majority of the people here. And then there are people who either A, need an unfathomable amount of money like Beige does, or B, are here for looking for something specific like you. You know that you're going to have to delve into this place and get probably quite far from being able to go back. You might have to spend a few days just delving to try to find whatever shields this place from the damage of time. But other people really just need to, for most of the people here, finding that room that you all found with those recreations of those slant creations of ancient weapons, they would have been I'm gonna go up top and drink like a king until we leave. They'd be I'm done. That is more than what I needed to find. It's just that for you all, it's a drop in the bucket.
Really, okay.
I mean, we also have that, if we're going to go talk to them too, it seemed like that, flying mummy creature was causing a lot of problems. It might still be in the area. I mean, if we go hunt that thing down, maybe we could kind of get some more goodwill with the rest of the groups.
We could get goodwill, or we could ask if people want to put a bounty on it. We'll go take care of that threat that's sort of stopping you from getting deeper into the dungeon if everybody pitches in 10 gold pieces. So along those lines.
Corvain actually pipes up and goes, and you could lay claim to the slaying of the construct, the oracle, that Bastille upstairs.
True.
If you can get up there before anybody else does and sort of signal that you've done that, that should be an aid or assistance.
Oh, like mark it with a group name.
I would like to make at least contact with the rest of my people sometime soon. Try to get a letter in or something so that they will speak to me. I am not sure if I am presumed dead or what the situation is, so
You will be. Just saying, be ready for that.
fair enough.
All right, so I think contact is the right idea. We talk to everybody, sell some goods where we need to, talk about getting a bounty placed on that witch, proving that we killed the Bastille as well, try and get some more street cred. Somebody's got to be on naming duty because we do not have a name for our group. So somebody be pondering that. We got one from Lemon. Go ahead.
Vale's Chain Gang.
Vale's Chain Gang. See, I like the idea. I don't like sort of the implication that I have you all chained up, forced to fight monsters with.
You were my jailer.
Yeah, but I don't need them to know that, is the thing.
It's
Yeah,
Patrick
maybe
and
something that
Corvain.
obscures
look at each
all
other.
of us in our
I don't know.
identities.
Beach likes the idea of the chains. I'm fine with chains.
You
That's
would.
Yeah.
Hilber's eyes slowly look over to the portrait of the chained man screaming.
Yeah.
That
See,
could
that's
be
the
laughing.
imagery. That's nope. His eyes. He has tears. They're blue.
Tears of laughter.
Happy.
Hey, I guess so. All right. I like the idea of a name. Keep thinking. Keep pondering. I'm gonna try and get a bounty set up. If other people want to figure out what the other groups and alliances are doing, what the merchants are looking to buy, intel, stuff like that, feel free. Otherwise, do as you will. We'll meet back up here in 3 hours, and then we can delve deeper. All right, let's go.
Okay,
That's good.
so as people divide up into teams here, all Corvain is going to do is get close enough that he can send a message cantrip and try to communicate with one of the guards that he can see outside of his area. So that is what Corvain is going to go do. Fitzpatrick sets about to repairing his automaton. You get the sense that he is not trying to join back up with the mages that hired him.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes?
Lemon, you still got that stone, right?
There's a lot of stones here.
The orb
What's,
that you were pondering.
Oh, that, yeah.
Fitzpatrick, would you mind maybe tinkering on this, see if you can get this functional? again?
Sure. What was there anything particular you were trying to do with it? And he sort of starts to like click around, and like a little lens slings down in front of his like face goggles he has on.
I mean, really, I don't know who it's going to be best for. It's not going to be me. I got this cool new hammer, so somebody else can take point on that.
How big is it? How big's the gem, would you say?
The precise measurement I gave was about the size of an avocado pit.
Avocado, thank you. Okay.
He goes,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, it clearly has some sort of capacity to bond two things together. We saw that used to seemingly grapple from a distance in a way that was somewhat horrifying, but seemed effective, or to bind a weapon to a creature in a way that was all but instantaneous. I can begin to just work on getting anything repaired about it up and functioning and get rid of any sort of magical programming that it already had. I could sort of start step one, but you're going to have to pick what you want me to do with it.
I mean, out of everybody, my first instinct is to have Hilver use it. You know, locking somebody in place and then being able to wail on them.
That's true. Yeah,
Makes sense.
turning their like since they are hypocrites and use magic to fight magic, turning that against them does sound fitting.
That'll be fun.
All right.
Anybody else want to lay claim? Otherwise, that's my vote.
Sounds good to me.
So, Hilver, how did you want this mounted? I can try. It's too large for a ring, but I could put it on a chain or a necklace, or I could mount it into armor somewhere.
No armor for me. It's always a little weird moving around like that. I kind of limits your flexibility and all that. Could you maybe like turn it into like an arm sash, like weave it into some fabric or something,
Sure, certainly.
or a bandana?
And you see he sits down, opens up his bag,
Arms
which
back.
you see is a mix of tinkering supplies, survival things, and arts and crafts, which is what I assume all artificers are sort of sporting, and he gets to work on assembling something. That'll probably take him a day, maybe a few days, you don't really know.
Oh,
Okay.
right. I guess if you start feeling weird with these last paintings or something, I guess maybe just duck out of this building and give us a call.
I don't know. They
We'll
seem...
be fine.
They give a nice warm light, at least.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, have fun
All
out
right.
there. And he just sort of sits and is going to basically protect this room. You see that Zariak is kind of like leaned up against the leg of this construct and is like looking in the chambers of it and is starting to like move things to the side, getting curious. And just like when he was fiddling with the gun earlier, you see this like instant proficiency come to his fingers as he starts looking. Immediately he gets panels to open and gets things to like lift and twist off, and he seems to almost instantly be able to take things apart in a way that they can safely be put back together, as he seems to kind of be exploring this thing. You can see magical healing and night's rest. Like I said, the signs of malnourishment are starting to leave him, but he is going to be rail thin for probably a number of months, even if you did get him back to society, as it were.
Yeah. Fitzpatrick, do you by chance speak Elvish or need a couple words jotted down?
Oh, why? Stop it! He looks over as you point out what Zariak is doing, and he goes, no. It's sort of running over. He does not speak Elvish, but he goes, well, I'll figure it out.
Okay, cool. I'll be like, I'll speak to Zariak and just be like, ally of great ingenuity. His brain swirls and wraps around problems of creatures and adventure in Elvish, and just like gesture over to Fitzpatrick to him and be like, friend.
Yes.
It's my favorite term.
He just sort of nods and goes, differential, proficient, but in places unsubstantial. And he is like fiddling, and you see that there are things about this mech that he is not impressed by. Some of the like arcane connections Zariak is sort of sticking his nose up as. You watch as he starts to reassemble things quickly, and Fitzpatrick goes, oh, well, all right, never mind, I guess, as he seems to be able to sort of restore things. So who wants to sort of take the first mission outside the area here? Remember, there are still threats above. It's not like the atrium has been perfectly taken, so I wouldn't recommend anybody go anywhere alone. At least go in pairs. But, so who has some concept of what they want to do?
I think that I think it would be good to figure out who needs to go outside and who can stay inside.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go outside to talk to the convoy as a whole.
Great.
So anybody else who needs to go out to like sell things or talk to anybody outside, come with me. Otherwise, there'll be an inside crew that kind of sticks together. I think it's
So,
best.
Harold's team outside. Who else's team outside? Bartholomew? Anybody else?
I think Beach would go with Harold.
And Beej. Okay, so
That's 3.
I mean, there has to be one pretty face.
Bartholomew, Harold, and Beej all make their way up to the surface. It is a often intimidating walk as you are sort of making your way up and around. You end up having to kind of bend around all these other groups. You go back up to that large building that you saw the people from the Viscount Malaran trying to get in through. As you get a little up towards that like spiraling staircase, you get the same experience that Bartholomew did. You see Morris look up, sees all of you coming up the stairs, and turns and like grabs Malaran by the shoulder and pulls him to go show him something, as you all can like skirt around the edge and get through. Morris seems to be happy to help you all, but you get the sense that his team is probably going to attack on sight, maybe, if they see people that close. Which means, for the record, all roads to the temple or that tower all pass through where they are. So they have effectively kind of sealed off everything below that layer by standing where they're standing. You guys are kind of below them by just a scooch. You make your way back up. I will ask, do you go back around those like gazing pools where you were before with the construct, or do you go around the archive where the mages are? It's just those are the two paths.
Going through the pools would be difficult because we went down that sort of chute. So I think we'll have to go by the mages.
You do see that you could walk the front way.
Oh, up out on the
yeah.
outside area. In that case, we would just go down. I would go down by the pool.
Okay.
Less question marks in the air there.
So you guys make your way up and around that front area into the gazing pools where you saw before. You see that door is still sealed. You can see some signs of a combat that has happened out on this landing since then. Do you do anything to interact with that space? Because you talked about that thing a little bit, or do you just proceed upwards?
I'll proceed, but if anybody else needs to stop.
Okay. You guys keep moving. You make your way up through that weird park, up through the familiar sort of staging area that you made your way through, where you saw those weapons, and it led down that tunnel where you had to learn Morse code before you get up to that entrance where those stone doors were smashed and sort of obliterated inwards. As you get up, you are standing now out in the wind for the first time. Bright, glaring sunlight is beating down into your faces, and the unbelievably oppressive heat. You discover as you take one step past where those doors were, the temperature goes from a very comfortable interior like 70 to the business end of 110 degrees outside. You are immediately just flooded with heat under this hot sun and somewhat blinded by the light of the gray ash as you sort of scamper your way up. And you can see that, sure enough, tents and canopies have been set up. Some of them, these like very tall tents, have been arranged in other places, where you can see that some people have set up seemingly like entertainment. They just saw that there was a lot of money to be made from these people, and that they were going to end up with people with brand new money in their pocket walking around a camp with nothing to do for the rest of the week. And so some places are selling, food and drinks that they brought with them. Others, equipment to go down with. You see many places selling rope and pythons, hammers, all that sort of stuff that you would need. And many others are just basically settlements of people who are planning to delve and come back. The most survivable and least profitable method is the only one they will do. Some of them clustered up in seemingly like little neighborhoods of people that know each other or that bonded on the trip over. Others kind of situated around in different places. You see that the ship that you all arrived on, the Storm's Call if memory serves, is landed, has been placed down, and is has pretty open traffic up and in. You get the sense that they are probably running some business from the interior. The ship that the Viscount was on is still in the air. You notice that it looked like it couldn't land, and you see that there is no way to get up or down, and in fact, it seems to have gone higher than it was before, as if it is purposely staying away from the rest of the camp. Again, all told, there's maybe 170 or 180 people here, which is definitely enough to sustain a little micro economy. What are you all doing up in this top area?
Harold's probably going to go to the delving camps and make conversation with them. You know, asking like, how far have you made it down? We made it to this point. We saw there's these issues here, and start sowing the seed of the witch, and saying like, yeah, the witch has sort of been in conflict. Me and my group are planning to take her down, but nothing's free.
Yeah.
You know, if we can get a bit of a pot together, we'll go handle that for everybody.
Really doing that Witcher grind. Yeah, go ahead and make go ahead and make a persuasion check, and let's see what you learn, and if you can manage to sort of get the ball rolling on getting a fee together. Can I say something? That's a really good idea. You guys said that, and I was like, that's cool as heck. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. What's up, Bartholomew?
As my friend has said, we are very good at taking care of business. He's casting guidance.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Guidance for persuasion.
That is, I got a 4 on the guidance, so shout out for that. A 24 total.
24 is really good. So you learn a couple of things. So the first thing that you learn is these delving crews have not gone past the park yet. Nobody has. So that would leave them one place you hadn't gone yet, and then the place where you all were, that hole in the wall, and like one other place. And then one of them, however, one that is already bearing some pretty heavy wounds, but you also bearing heavy wounds and also smoking a pipe, and like beautiful, rich, like far distant smells are coming out of the tobacco, and you're like, so this guy's already probably done. When some of us, this guy walks up to you and is like, some of us went up to the tier that those creatures had jumped down from, and it was dire. None of us made it back, but they had weapons and armor and all kinds of things up there with them, so that's where we started. This is early, when they still think you're an adventurer like them. They're like, we lost people, but if you go up there was a lot to be found, and it seemed like it connected to another place, but we pretty much, I think we're pretty much done. Well, and he looks back, and you see there's like 4 tents set up, and you see him, and you see like 2 other people, and there's room for 10 to be where they are. So whatever is up there is very dangerous, you gather. Yeah. And with the 24, quickly, by the time you are talking to the last people, a few of them walk up to you and are like, have you heard of the witch? Like, are starting to... It is bouncing around fast enough that it, like, catches up to you and swings back around. And you're like, somebody's like, we're trying to get a pot together. And, like, has a little board and is trying to get people to sign up to sort of contribute.
Nice.
Okay.
I didn't ask for a minimum that the gang would accept, but I'm sure we'll break it anyways.
I believe. All right, what are other people getting into?
Bartholomew casted disguise self on himself once again, so he can kind of walk around. He's going to try to sell his stuff without ever bringing attention to his party, to make sure that if anyone ever questions where they got his goods.
Okay, all right. Let me check 2 things really quick. Okay, so now we need to figure out. All right, so I'm gonna have you roll then, either like a persuasion or a deception check, just depending on what your kind of angle is. Because you were trying to sort of get
It's more deception.
Okay.
Just in case people are like, oh, where'd you get this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me take a look at
Disguise himself as one of the mages we cast along.
I'm going to use an actual paper book for once to get the number I'm looking for. That should be fun.
Okay.
So just tell me the result of that roll.
27.
27. Okay. Cool. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Flipping all over the place here. Okay. So that is a very good result. I think overall that is pretty strong. You get offered... I will ask, do you prioritize gold, or are you trying to, like, barter at all?
He does a little bit of bartering.
Okay.
Because he gets offered, like, have you ever seen this exquisite research? My I've studied for years. Oh, this is almost, it's almost as worth as adamantine armor itself.
There we
Even
go.
More.
Oh,
I'll take it for 12,000 gold.
Oh my gosh.
He's gonna go with that.
12,000 gold. The man clutches at his chest and starts coughing very loud. No, you see, you get a couple of different offers for several of the pieces. A lot of them look like they are museum quality, and occasionally you manage to obscure the truth that it doesn't seem like these weapons were made all over the world. It seems like these weapons were collected here, and maybe were made here to look like weapons from other parts of the world. In the end, you managed to get together 4,900 gold, all told, for what you found. It is a tremendous volume of money, given what these pieces are. Unfortunately, there's not much to be found in the way of trade beyond rations and other things that people need. People have not had enough time to return with any of the sort of magical spoils of what is down below. They are focused mainly on those things they can get direct gold value for.
Alright. But that's good enough. It's a lot more than he expected, and he's continuing to go around. Hoping no one asks any questions.
Sure thing. Makes sense to me. All right.
Yep, I've already added it. Yep.
Okay. What? Who's up next then? So that's Beach. What's Beach up to in these camps up here?
Beach would like to sing a little song that he wrote about
Okay.
the witch and how scary the witch is, and
That's fair.
like really scary and bad, and like put on a little show, hoping that people will give a little bit more money, and maybe he'll even be like, oh my, the witch, and like, so he says something about the witch, and then when he does it, he makes like the flames on people's torches go. He's like, oh my
Okay.
god, oh,
All right.
I've spoken its true name.
oh.
All right. Make a performance check with advantage, because you're using magic to like aid what you are doing.
The first one was a nat 20 for the first time.
Let's
So,
go.
so 29 with a nat
Oh
20.
my goodness. Okay.
Beads the
I've never rolled that high.
Younger starts getting a cold sweat wherever he is.
Yes, I think with the 29 you get the following things. Number one, the song that you come up with to describe the witch, by the end you're like, this is really good. And you see a couple of the people are like very afraid, but like also kind of can't.
If I don't hear this in the tunnels, like if I don't hear people just humming this in the tunnels, I have not done my job.
Yes, you essentially create this world's version of the Monster Mash. This like scary themed but extremely popular music. By the end of it, you have whipped up kind of a hurricane of fear around this creature that was seen, that has only been described, now sung in song and told in tale from those that went down below. What you thought genuinely, specifically from Harold, this bounty should be like 3,000 to 4,000 gold maybe for something like this. Definitely dangerous, right? Definitely serious, but nothing like way over the top. By the time you next see what the bounty total has gotten to, and people are like talking about, does anybody bring a press? Like people are talking about how to like get a poster made. The number has gotten up to like 6,000 gold.
Let's go.
So you guys have built this up enough that people are beginning to imagine it maybe is a little more than it seemed like it was, because you did watch it flee when outnumbered. It's not like it stood there and just waylaid this army. It did eventually have to sort of flee the fight.
Who's holding the pot is the real question I've got.
You see the pretty
Beach has taken his shirt off.
just randomly.
The bounty goes up to 7,000.
No, he's using it, to collect. It's for our reason.
Oh, your shirt. I see.
You see that people looking for somebody to sort of entrust this to, you quickly get the sense that, not elected certainly, you see that the smaller drone figure, one of the ones from the train, you see L43, which is the number emblazoned on the side of its neck. This one does have facial features on its sort of carved front face, which you can see is just wood. There's like a wood mask on what is otherwise this like brilliant, gleaming copper-colored automaton. And you see that people seem to have begun to ask L43 questions, and L43, being this sort of perfectly lawful and knowledgeable drone, has been responding to all the questions and has slowly been turning into like dispute mediation for the town. They seemingly aren't trying to get down below. They are just sitting up in the central area, and people keep coming up and being like, can you like take care of what? And L43 will be like, Mr. Donaldson has set up over there, and will like point to where somebody has set up, and they will run off. And you see that there is a large sack of gold just at L43's feet. Somebody goes up. You watch somebody run up, and they're to sprint. Like, one kid runs up in the front waving their hands, and another one reaches an arm. I say kid, one of these like adventurers. One of them reaches an arm under, and L43 reaches down, grabs that arm, and like wrenches their shoulder, and the person like falls and like has to limp away. And L43's like, "That's not for you." Goes back. As Beej dumps another bag of gold into that bag, and then maybe Beej, you stand up and go, "Why didn't I just steal that gold? I could have just taken that." As you dump that into the bounty board.
L43, why are you not diving in? Why are you sitting up here for?
L43 sort of turns and goes, classified.
What if I told you I had top secret clearance?
You do not.
Depends on who you ask.
You see its eyes. It has these like eyes with like little impressions in it that are also seem to be wood. You watch as they like roll too smooth. It stands still for 6 seconds. They roll back and it goes, "You do not have authorization."
All right, worth a shot. Could I trade the information? Would you want to know a question that I might have an answer for, and then you can give me your answer?
No.
All right, fair enough. Not yet. You might want to know something at some point. Who knows?
Did you have a question, Harold?
No, I mean, I already asked it.
I like that guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
Oh, I thought you were still staring at him, and I was like, he's just like...
I was standing next to him at this point, just looking out at the rest of the camp. Yeah, no, he seems pretty cool. Anyway, I did what I needed to do. Let's go kill a witch.
Are you interested in the bounty? And L43 turns around and lifts up a poster and hands it to you.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to go claim that one real quick.
Fantastic.
But how do I prove? Should we bring like a head to prove it to you that we did it?
Sufficient proof of life would be... And he looks at the art depiction. Something prominent in this image. I did not see it myself.
Deal.
I should collect an eyewitness. And you watch L43 close the bag, put it over their shoulder, and start to just run into the camp.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy's getting up to. He's watching something. All right, down we go. I guess I'm going down. But you guys, are you done? Topside crew?
It sounds like Topside crew is done. Let's mosey on. I let that hang a little too. Energy's dragging. Yes, Beej, Harold, and Bartholomew go back down below. Hilver and Michael, what were the two of you up in that same time?
I'm mostly trying to go names. And the one that I thought, and I'm gonna start just scrolling it on where our last kill was. I think everyone will like, if they don't, we'll erase it and start on something new.
I love the confidence of being like, blank was here. We're like, that, we didn't vote on this. We didn't vote on this.
But the name that the Lemons come up with for the time being is Bottom Line.
Yeah.
Okay, you scribe bottom line across the front. So you go up and you open the door into that sort of large central room, into the gazing pools. You open the doors, and I need you to roll an insanely important luck check. Just a drastically important luck check.
I
One
will
to
have been also tagging along with Lemon, but along the way I'll be doing my stuff that we can resolve in a minute.
Sure.
That is a 14.
Thank goodness. You open the door and it is still there. A couple of things are still there. Number one, the large construct body is still there. Number two, the massive gemstones around the pool that you guys didn't have the time to interact with are all also still there if you wanted to try to take them. You know that falling into one of the pools would be very bad, so you would need to be very careful, but there you go. So you carve that into the floor in front of this large mech that even all of you couldn't lift together. So you are hoping that this signature will be enough of a claim that people will leave it alone.
Yeah, I'd be cool. I'll take a gemstone and see what happens.
Sure. You walk around to the side and you grab one of the easiest to get gemstones. Just make an athletics check to try to wrench it out of the ground.
If it doesn't work, Lemon, maybe that tether thing we can use to do it safely from a distance as well later.
10 plus 7, so 17.
17 is enough for this one. This is one of the ones that's way on the outside. It seems to be still something impressive, but a less precious stone than some of the others that are further ahead. It looks to be amethyst or some other purple stone. You manage to get your weight over it, twist until you feel it sort of coming loose, and then snap it out of where it has seemingly been molded down into the stone. Thankfully, not quite perfectly. Seemingly, whatever magic did this was a little tenuous. And you have an amethyst in your hand the size of a softball. And one of the outside pools goes dim.
If I put it back on, does it relight?
No. You put it back in, and nothing happens.
Just kill the universe.
I'll do what you did. I'll take one of the stones and I'll just toss it into this dim pool and see if it disappears now.
Plink, splash. Stone just falls in the pool.
Well, that's
We
one
have
sticky.
bats.
We what? We have
bats.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't think we want to take all of these. Maybe some.
Yeah, you see that there's one on each side that seems like it would be very easy to grab. And then there are two more that would be you leaning pretty far. And then for the last one, you would have to go up to the very top of that stone and hang by your legs and reach out to get that last one. And so that would be, you'd be at quite a high risk of falling into the pool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
You want me to try that one?
Yeah, you go ahead and try that one. I'll try this one, and I think we call it quits on that.
So you're immediately trying the most dangerous one.
No,
Yeah, I
Oh,
will.
you're trying
I
the
will.
most dangerous?
So Lemon says, yeah, go
Oh.
ahead. And Lemon turns to grab the easy one, not understanding. And Hilver runs out to the end of the stone to reach. I want to be very clear. There is a world where you fail this check so bad, Stefan, that you have to play a different character for the rest of the adventure. Okay.
I am using my Celestial Revelation ability to get flying speed, so I can approach it above the pool.
Okay, well why didn't you just say that to start with? That immediately solves the problem.
Okay.
You guys gotta learn,
So, yeah.
you don't need to surprise me with these. You can just tell me up front that you're gonna fly.
Sorry, I still had to scroll a while to find what it was called. again.
Hilver just lifts off the ground. I will ask, do you have wings, or are you flying, hovering?
Yeah, I have a fly speed equal to my speed, so 45 feet of wing flapping per 6 seconds.
So here's what I'll say. Go ahead and make an athletics check to pull the stone at the head. Don't roll in that one.
All right.
Because you have manual flight, if you roll in that one, you'll fall into a pool.
Okay. And can I do acrobatics because I'm a monk for this to try
Sure.
to find a good leverage? All right.
I always, and this is a tip I have for the DMs out there, and I'm serious. Just say, do monk stuff. Anything that's
Okay.
strength-based, just be do a monk thing. I mean, what are we doing here?
All right. I am casting guidance on myself because the wings do not require concentration.
Nobody watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, saw nobody lift weights, and was unrealistic. I'm hanging up.
Yeah. All right. It's not in that one.
Not in that one.
so,
Good.
Dirty 20.
With the dirty 20, you manage to get leverage here. You do have to kind of get low enough to rest an elbow on the stone next to it, which is a little nerve-wracking because your face is an inch above the water. You manage to get some leverage and pull, and you are left with a diamond of incredible size in your hand, and the giant central pool flashes out.
I guess, Lemon, we've got another big bath here, too. Maybe we can find some ways of heating these waters up.
We cut
I look over, not realizing that he was grabbing. Like, oh my god!
We cut to 4 days
Oh,
in the
what?
future when a normal scholar has made his way down to this chamber, and he's like rubbing his hands around the side, and he goes, "A lost magic, never to be seen in this world again. Such stable teleportation. One of the tragedies of these kinds of events." We cut back to right now as you tear this diamond out, and as Lemon turns around and sees you do that with like fear in his eyes.
Not knowing that you were able to fly.
Oh, yeah. It's good to get around Cradle this way.
Fair.
But I guess I'll come back down and land because they only last for a minute.
Yeah, go for it. I'm just grabbing the next easiest one.
Sure.
And I think
Make an athletics check.
I think this will do it for now.
Sure.
All right. That is.
And I will.
If,
I'll give you guidance for that too.
oh, thank you. D4.
Great.
Yeah.
So 12 plus 7, so 19 plus 1, so dirty 20.
Dirty 20, you managed to pull that stone up as well. So you have a large purple stone, a large green stone, and then a large clear stone that you assume to be a diamond or something similarly valuable. You don't know the value off the top of your head. It's not going to be a small number.
Hey, good job.
Okay, and now I'll
Yeah,
ask
it's, like,
Hilbert,
quite shiny.
what were you doing on the way up?
I was gonna take my staff of flowers and see if I can like create some flowers along the pathway up here, and see if they have the same effect as like when we were up in the death area or not, or if it's different underground here.
You begin to like hold your hand out and cast this, and these flowers begin to bloom across the interior here. None of them instantly wither or seem unable to grow like they were above, but what does happen once you are quite a bit above, if you're casting this like as you climb the stairwell, once you're like 70 or 80 feet up above, you hear the sounds of movement behind you, and you turn and you see that having emerged out of the wall, not one of the sort of mummified prowling creatures, you see one of the skeletons that you've been seeing is walking out and has a little wicker basket and is plucking the plants that you have grown like they are weeds, very methodically, one at a time, and putting them in the basket.
All right, I want to try and like for the next couple, I want to try and plant them like maybe in some of the mortar and stuff, like a little bit higher up from where these skeletons can reach them.
Sure.
Gotta reach, baby.
You go back up and begin to get set to work on what we play out with that scene on the interior of you guys collecting a couple of those gemstones, signing your names, and then stepping back out onto the stairs. As you do, movement comes from behind you, and you see that sure enough, Beige, Harold, and Bartholomew are coming back down from their ventures above. As you look over, Hilfer, you are disappointed to see there's a skeleton up on another skeleton's shoulders. Like standing up, feet on top. I rolled a 15 dexterity check for them to try to do this, and it is slowly plucking the flowers like weeds down through the mortar, and then going over
You
with
could
like
really
a brush,
leave those there, you know.
a brush, and like like clearing where their roots went through.
I'll tell you what, if you keep doing it and we just destroy the skeletons, eventually there's not going to be enough skeletons to do the job anymore. So really it's just a way to weed out the worker drones.
That's true too. Should I go over and push the bottom one?
Yeah, you see
It'd be
that
funny.
they just sort of like plink, 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 plink. The minute something happens, you see that in a couple of the places where there have been these like horrible combats, where there's like body parts strewn across the ground and like just a red smear that assumably was once a mage of Remgastelon or one of these creatures. You look over there and you see two of these skeletons. One of them has a bucket with soapy water and a brush and is like washing the walls, and like next to him there's a mage of Remgastelon with a staff. Like and just walks away. And you see that even as you guys are working, some of the other groups are starting to ignore the skeletons. They seem to not do anything but maintain the structure. You see a few of them, in fact, have gotten. If you look down below, you see that large stone door that is down below has been like lifted up out of the dirt, and there are a few of them like pushing planks of wood underneath. They are probably going to try to reinstall the door.
Rough.
Well, I guess they probably aren't going to sound alarms on us anymore, since like the alarms have been sounded. So maybe this is their new status quo.
Yeah, their job is done. They alerted the big bads. You know,
Yeah.
everything. I'm assuming everything in this entire hive knows that we're here.
Yeah.
So
As you guys are like talking and moving through the space and like heading back down below, every now and again you will still see like up in one of the corners of the alcove, like high up above you, you will just suddenly see like fire and like a streak of lightning and somebody like "Wah!" fly across. Constantly you will see these like bursts and everybody freezes. And then it quiets down and they all just kind of like shake their heads and keep going. This is what everybody here kind of signed up for. Thankfully, if you all remember in episode 1, Beige on a crusade to get people who shouldn't be here to leave, you get the sense that Beige saved a lot of lives. You aren't seeing too many like absolute greenhorns. You're seeing a lot of people that are like, "Ugh,
gotta get the karma right.
keep going, and like run back in and are pretty undeterred by those that are less fortunate than they.
So you guys made baths?
Yeah, we got some shiny gems here, and like no one will at least fall into those pools and teleport to their doom or discovery, I guess.
Hilver holds up a diamond the size of a grapefruit.
My God. Whoa.
I need to examine this.
Okay, here you go.
Bartholomew, he just hands it to you. You just have this massive... It's like so heavy. It is ridiculous as you like are holding in your hands.
Bartholomew is trying to do squats and put this into his
Workout routine.
bag of holding. He does 1 point damage to himself and he cracks it back.
There we go. Did you want to inspect it and try to figure out how much it's worth or anything, or do you just throw it in the bag?
They're in the bag. That was
Okay.
just him. He's thinking money.
Now, business-wise, grapefruit diamond notwithstanding, I think with the pools, we could probably set up, you know, a guard/teller there, take like a gold piece per bath, and get a nice side hustle going. People are gonna spend a couple days in these dungeons. They're gonna be willing to shell out some money to get the gunk and grime cleaned off.
Mm-hmm. That is so funny.
So, just saying, that's another way to eke out some gold down here.
Harold's,
Yeah. Did we grab some like the soap buckets from these skeletons too?
Yeah,
Harold's selling
So-
we
subscription.
can push them over. They're just bones.
Harold's on a subscription model.
Yeah, you guys aren't thinking big enough for this. I need 250,000 gold pieces is the thing. So sort of every gold counts. We just need to find somebody to be willing. I'll probably run up and find like somebody who's planning on going home and just put them on payroll.
So put Guy on that job.
We'll do that off stream.
Yeah.
But I certainly
No, not
don't
right
want to go
now.
talk to Jeremy, the pool guy, while we do this through here. So yeah, you guys
Are you
chat
sure?
that out. You have this large, I'm positive, you have this large gemstone's been stowed away. As you all sort of reconvene together, you know where the rest of your allies are. What do you do?
I show him our title. As everyone's thoughts, yay, nay.
Big thumbs up on the bottom line. I think that's a sick name.
Sounds solid.
I mean, that's 3. 3 yays,
I
4
love
yays,
it.
5 yays. The
Okay,
bottom line.
we got there.
Now we need to deal with the witch. We should probably talk to people who fought it to see, you know, weaknesses, strengths, abilities, and then go and do the damn thing.
You do also have the additional, you don't know if it is a problem or not yet because you haven't really been able to go up and chat. The building that she flew in and out of is the one that the Viscount is trying to get into.
Well, we'll need
It's
to
fine,
talk
you
to
were
the
correct on that last one.
Okay.
the bottom line. All right, so let's talk first to a more friendly group that might have encountered the witch to see what they found out, and then we'll send a B team to talk to the Viscount and get to the door.
All right, I'll find someone who might have been injured by the witch then. See if they can give us some info.
Perfect.
Okay, where do you guys head to do that? I assume at this point we are staying as a group.
I guess the mages kind of got the first-hand
The
experience with
mages.
it, right?
Bartholomew's still disguised.
Okay. You guys make your way over to the Mages of Remgastelon, where they are sort of set up here outside of that large building that looks a little bit more ornate, not the sort of grand kind of brutalist facade that the Viscount is in front of. You see that they are sort of all arranged there, and at their head, you see a sort of broad... Wait, how did I describe them last time? I don't know if they were... I think they're sort of a narrow-chested... I almost said broad-chested. I'm at the opposite. Red Dragonborn. Let me look through for his info here. Is outside speaking to somebody, and as you look up, you see that he is speaking to Corvain, who you know reached out, and apparently their meeting went well. And Corvain they're like speaking back and forth, and you hear Corvain sort of piping up and going, yes, fine fellows, each of them, I swear, they seem to be an upright crew. As Orax responds with, I know that is how you feel. Can you describe to me what happened while you were there? Did they say anything? What did they say? And you see that Orax is trying to get him to like slow down and say like, who said that? Which one of them? How did they say it? And is trying to get this like very fine level of detail out of him about what exactly the interaction was as you all are sort of walking down the stairs.
Hello, Corvain.
You yell over, and there's like a couple of people that were up in this sort of array, and a few of them turn, who are clearly here as sort of patrol or guards. As Corvain goes, "Ha! Perfect timing! Perhaps they couldn't enlighten you somewhat themselves on what they said." And you see Orax goes, "That would be all right, Corvain." As you are all sort of up and about, Corvain waves you down. And one of the guards like turns, and Corvain goes, "Oh no, that's fine." And you see he keeps looking until Orax kind of like rolls his eyes and nods his head, and they step out of the way, and Corvain's like, "Good man," as you sort of mill your way down. What do you do as you sort of approach this odd circumstance? You can see that all of these guards among the mages are watching you all very closely.
You needed us to clarify some stuff. First of all, hello, Harold Vale. Everyone else?
Hilver.
11.
Rapid fire. Everybody.
Jeremy. Just kidding.
Yeah. Zero. I'm one of the lower scholar who's been attending with you the whole time.
You see he, I'm gonna roll. You see he goes, so that is Beige and that is Bartholomew. And he points at Beige and Bartholomew and goes, your descriptions were relatively accurate. Greetings. I am the Arcanist Orax Solden, Arcanist of Remgastelon. My compatriot Corvain tells me that you all have gained access to the further reaches beneath those of Edifice that have set up their strange blockade. Very interesting to me. I would be happy to speak to you on that point. Did you have some other business? It seemed to me you were already seeking me. And you all quickly get the sense that Orax was watching you come down the stairs long before his companion noticed that you were there, and seems to have already gotten a little bit of a read on your intent.
Yeah, we're gonna go kill the witch, and we were hoping to get some information firsthand on, weaknesses, powers, strengths.
The woman who summoned the lights and dispelled the magic of a few of my students. Yes, very interesting. I'm glad to hear it. I wish you the best of luck. And they gesture over to where the Arcanist is, to where the Viscount is, and goes, they haven't let any of us pass, and took a few shots at one of ours on our way down.
We'll convince him.
I certainly hope so.
How
Why did you feel
close
the
did
need
you
to
get
speak
before they
to
took
me
shots then?
Great question.
Well, they didn't let us get close at all. But as two of the larger organizations here, I assume that we are more competitive than maybe they are with others. Did you want to know more of this witch, as you have chosen to call it? I feel the need to say witches are typically those who use totemic magic, but sure, it's a fair enough term.
Flying mummy fury creature.
Yeah.
More accurate. Did you want to ask somebody about that?
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
the goal. Power,
Fabulous.
strengths, weaknesses.
What would you trade us for this valuable information about your target?
What are you looking for?
Oh, I was thinking our success in felling it and freeing you guys of that bother, but I guess
I am not exploring
more
that
equal
building.
exchange. Oh, okay.
So what do you want?
I am told by my friend Corvain that you have access to the space below where the Viscount Malaran and his foes are. So I will say, assuming you survive, I would ask that you bring one of us down there with you, who can study the area and send more of us down below. Bypassing the resistance, I'm sure we could get past the Viscount, but it would cost us more resources than I'm willing to part with. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
Fair to me.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to trust you.
You can trust me of all people.
And I'm going
You can
to...
trust me.
Jeremy.
You guys can't trust Jeremy. You can't trust this guy.
Harold,
but
make...
you got my word.
Then I will leave it to Harold. Harold, make either a persuasion or a deception check, whichever feels most accurate.
It's an 18 total.
Okay. You see they look over and nod and go, "Can you keep your allies in mind?" And he points to Bijam Bartholomew.
Yeah, they're harmless.
All right. They turn, open the doors, and you hear them speaking a little bit, and a few mages come out. You see that neither of these are Dragonborn. Oh wait, one of them is, because I know who this is. One of them is human, the other is Dragonborn. The Dragonborn has a just extremely broken leg. This is the Dragonborn that lost its flight and plummeted down below as they flew up to the witch in our scene. The other is a human figure who looks far less long-term injured, but has a giant lightning scar up the side of their neck that is halfway healed, but not quite all the way there yet. They make their way out and basically submit to a brief interview of what they saw. Okay, so what exactly, information-wise, are you looking to get about the witch, just that I can answer you? Feel free to ask in character if you'd like, but...
May I,
I mean,
examine
yeah,
your guys' injuries? I'll try to tend to them a little too if you need.
Certainly, sure. Is it... on what pretense do you make that offer?
Just to see how the mummy fury witch creature has impacted you and all that.
Oh,
Because we're
certainly.
trying to get ready for it and all.
If that is part of the information, sure. And you see they sort of step forward, willing to be sort of looked at, the both of them. What other questions get asked as Hilver? Feel free to roll a little bit of healing, and then they will gladly exchange some information, I'm sure.
Any
Right.
vulnerabilities, resistances that you tried to discover?
All right. You see that the two of them briefly discuss some of what they saw, and you see that the Dragonborn, who introduces himself eventually as Verith, says, she was extremely resistant to magic in all forms, but seemed, for all of that defense, one of the only things that was effective is one of our number who is proficient, who is a grappler, a wrestler in a past life, essentially, quickly wrestled her to the ground. She had to flee the combat. She seems extremely weak to martial prowess, but essentially immune to magic.
Harold looks over at Lemon, nodding.
Nodding knowingly. It is a difficult thing. It presents a pretty major challenge. She was still hardy enough to fight us off and get away, but that seemed the most effective thing, Carmine. And the human goes, I didn't see anything different from that. What other questions do you have for these two? That's weaknesses.
Abilities. Curious sort of what magic she was working with, what she relied on the most. AoE, things like that.
Ah, yes, the areas of effect. They take out a textbook because that's part of the rules of D&D magic, so they would all know about it. when the lights were around her, any magic that got too close simply snuffed out, like a candle flame. And then would not... when I fell, and you see that Verith pipes up, when I fell, I kept falling. I should have been able to cast it again after a few seconds. I couldn't. I plummeted a good length of the way, broke my fall and leg on an outcropping, and thankfully survived, but that was about the best I had. And about the best it could have gone. And then you see Carmine pipes up and goes, she shoots lightning, and gestures to his destroyed neck and shoulder that is slowly healing as Hilver attends to him.
Yeah.
And seemed to be able to do her own magic in spite of whatever effect she has. But I never saw her conjure the lights and do magic. It seemed to be one or the other.
Maybe the lights prohibit her own magic too. Then might not
Your guess is
target
as
everyone.
good as mine. Either that, or it takes an incredible amount of concentration to stay focused on
okay.
them. I don't know which.
All right.
During the spell block, did you see if any magic that wasn't targeted at her? You know, like if I were to use a buff spell on one of my allies, did you see anybody use something like that and have that fizzle out?
My fly spell was targeted on myself and ended when I got too close and I fell from the sky. I saw a few others in similar situations, a few among our number with magical blades. I assume suffered the same, but only a few of us got close enough to grapple onto her, and then she fled quite quickly after the fact.
So magical items, magical spells, aggressive and buff based. Alright, that's what I needed.
Yeah, maybe if we save our buffs for after the lights get this wear off. Like if she maybe does that as a start and then switches to combat magic, then
let him rip. Yeah.
Oh, and Varen pipes up and says, and the others seemed to listen to her. They acted mostly autonomously, but when the statues that fell from above spoke, or she did, they would stop and abide by those orders.
And for my heals too, I healed 7 for the lightning wounded guy, and the broken leg guy I healed 12.
Okay, I think with 7 and 12, his leg is still broken, but is certainly much less painful, and you've probably saved him, 2 of his 6 weeks. It would take a pretty huge dump of health points to get that sort of back up and in order. For those of you, he fell unconscious and I rolled on the table. The one that's just bearing the lightning scar, that scar basically heals up. It heals a good majority of the way. They are very grateful, and thank you for your aid on that as they manage to sort of set back inside. But pretty quickly, they head back inside, and you already hear the sort of distant sounds of somebody asking them what questions you asked. As the Arcanist makes his way back outside, the door shutting behind, and goes, well, that seems like it was very productive. I hope you got everything that you were looking for, and I expect you all to uphold your end of our bargain.
Yeah, I guess Corvain got up here on his own, though, right? I guess, did you just fly up and around from getting around those crew?
They turn and look to Corvain, and Corvain goes, I cast invisibility on myself.
Ah, that's handy.
Then I walked up the stairs. The one man did seem to get an eye on me, though. That one with the gun.
With the bird? Oh,
yes, the bird looked at me, and then he did.
Ah, okay.
But that's what made me think I thought they were going to turn out to be really very friendly, because he seemed to make eye contact with me and just let me pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the one who was pretty happy that we helped with fending off the dragon, so it seems like he's got some goodwill stored.
So one of them is safe to travel around. Very well.
Also, I think we should probably have an indicator that we are members of the bottom line. So I pull out an extra cloak from my bag, and I rip off several pieces of fabric. I say, just tie them around both of your biceps.
Right.
The black fabric will just say, these are people of the bottom line. That way, if we make a deal with the group, they see that, they go, okay, they're good to walk past us. Something like that.
See, I thought you were going to pull out a tattoo kit.
Hey, if we can find one up top.
I mean, I'm not sure if my calligrapher supplies would work for that or not.
You watch Corvain looking. Corvain is looking around like, I am the bottom line, or what's
Yeah,
the deal?
yeah,
there?
no, that's yeah.
The Arcanist
There you
goes.
go.
I'd say like the medium line, maybe.
The Arcanist goes. If Corvain like looks up at the Arcanist and goes, "I am sorry. If these strangers with access to a part of this area we do not have access to yet would like to welcome you into the fold, that is fine with me." And they go, "Okay, all right, very well, very well." And Corvain sort of ties these to his arms and goes, "I'm glad it's not a tattoo. I can't get those." And his sort of glinting scales are shining in the light.
Fair. All right, let's go. Maybe we should try and make contact with our friendly in that group first.
Sure. Gonna try to talk to Morris first.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you want to try to do that as you guys are kind of like milling around? You're going to have to pass by their area to get back down to where you are camped unless one of you can fly or teleport or do something else significant. What do you do?
My flying spent, but I think, do we have someone else who can fly?
No.
I could misty step up and then fall.
Could just Misty step down. So the question is just, do you try to sneak down to your area and then speak? Or like, how do you approach them to talk?
I don't think that. I think we don't necessarily need to sneak down. We might have to sneak up to our friend, but sneaking down to get back up, I don't think is really necessary
Right.
yet.
I have an idea. I can see if I can distract them to come to us.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to
he
run a
could be
distraction
messenger for
technique.
us? If you can get him to us? Okay.
Perfect.
So,
Then we'll stay up here.
alright, so Bartholomew's gonna make his way over there, gets an Eye of Morrow, and then just cast Minor Illusion.
Okay. And so whose attention are you trying to grab? You're trying to grab Morris's?
Morris.
The guy with the gun?
Yep. And this.
Okay. You just send like a little flash in front of his face,
just a
and
little
he
flash.
and you see again, kind of like the other guy described, as quick as Morris looks around, that falcon on his shoulder, that little tiny, literally it's like this tall on his shoulder, like whiffs around right to where you guys are, and then Morris turns. It seems like the Peregrine tends to be a little faster than he is, and Morris leans over and says something and like nods and walks down the stairs a little while, carrying this like cartoonishly large rifle up off of his shoulder, that you can see the top is like still on those like suspensor crystals, is like floating up above him, kind of perfectly steady as he like walks down the stairs a little bit, holding the gun like he's aiming. He gets to a point where he gets like to a certain point and starts aiming down, and then while he is looking down through the scope goes, "I think I can hear you from here."
Yeah.
And he's
All
just
right.
really making it look like he's staring at something down by that large kind of cathedral-esque arched structure, and is looking through the scope, but can hear you from where he is.
I say to Bartholomew, who I assume can hear me, and he's too far away. So I say, Bartholomew, just make it quick so you can get out of there.
If that was
Oh,
words,
shoot.
I couldn't hear him.
Oh no. Bartholomew, are you?
This one cast silence on him.
Hello?
He's silenced!
Oh,
Oh, no!
no!
The
The witch!
Viscount Faraday. No, still nothing.
Uh-oh.
In that case, while the audio issues are being solved, Harold will whisper. He'll
Yeah, sure.
Scooch down to where Bartholomew is, and he'll say, "You know, we're hoping to make an alliance, yeah, at least partially with the Viscount. We're trying to kill the witch, and it seems like y'all are sort of posted up in between the egress and the spot we're posted up in. So,
Chat just saw the text bubbles on the edge of Spencer's screen. Yeah, so you say that, and he can just sort of like, again, hearing you from around the corner, and you are both kind of hiding from each other still, and he goes, "Yeah, the boss hadn't been too keen on making friends with anybody since we got down here. He changed tunes a little bit after we got through the door. But the witch, good name by the way, that's why we're not inside. The boss is real keen on getting in there. I don't know what it is, And he gestures up, and he kind of like leans his head up, and you can see that there's like, this is one of the only buildings that has like writing across the top. Like it maybe describes what the building is, but it's in the language of the primacy. And he goes, but boss won't give it up. So we've just been camping out and making different plans. I think we've hatched about 6, but none of them sound quite right yet. I could try and talk to him, but
We've got sort of a person on crew whose entire thing is breaking down big doors. So I'm thinking we can probably utilize that, get in there, take care of the witch, and leave y'all, sort of that point.
yeah.
We're only interested in killing the witch so we get the gold, and then we continue on deeper. I don't really care about the rest.
I was wondering where Fitz got off to after he got
Yeah.
off the ship.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, if we do coordinate the strike, if you wanted us to like focus on the witch, you guys could or your crew could maybe focus on any other creatures that it tries to like call to the area, because it seems like a ringleader of sorts for the denizens here.
Yeah, he would say it. Sorry, I was debating what he would tell you, but you guys made friends with this guy. He goes, I can ask if the Viscount's gonna hire you all. It's probably gonna be because he thinks that you'll soften it up and then die.
That's fine.
So the odds that he's gonna want to risk his own men alongside you is low. And to be perfectly frank, I think it may spin on the coin of my powers of persuasion. Which is not what they pay me for.
Don't worry about it. I cast guidance on him. Boom.
I feel slightly better. All right, give me 5 minutes. And he stands up and goes back over. You roll that d4.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah, Nick, I hear you.
Aha!
May the good.
Yeah.
May the,
Yes.
may the birds guide you. He looks over at the party. He's like, I'm sorry, that bird scares the shit out of me.
I like that. All right, Spencer, go ahead and roll that d4. Tell me the result, and then I will roll for Moritz to try to talk you guys into the okay graces of the Viscount.
3.
3, okay. All right.
And I guess the leverage is that we'd fight the mummy and also break down the door, right? With physics.
We break down the door because that's where the witch is.
Yeah.
So we break down the door, we fight the witch, and we leave them the place as their staging area.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deal.
Cool. He has a -1, but with that +3, it adds up to a +2.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think he's got this.
Pretty persuasive guy. I'd
Pretty
say.
persuasive fella. His familiar will give him advantage.
Aha!
Yeah.
His familiar will give him the help action. I rolled a 2 and a nat 20.
Oh!
A nat 20 plus 2 to over a 22. I'll say he does it. That is hilarious. I just realized, I was like, oh, his Peregrine's his familiar. So the Peregrine just starts acting real cute. Just starts really cheep cheep. Yeah, exactly. As he goes up, you see they have a very long conversation, and you watch him and you can tell he's really having to spin a story of how he knows that you are doing this and where he could have heard it from. And so for 10 minutes, you watch this guy give a whole Daniel Day-Lewis tour de force persuasion of explaining and gesture from the back. You're like, I think he's doing a good job.
Doing it.
Eventually, he turns and nods, breathes, and walks down over to where you guys are and goes, you guys can come over.
All right. Let's go.
You make your way over, and the Viscount Malaran is standing there again. He is in this sort of immaculate uniform suit kind of mix that he wears. You know that Edifice is a pretty structured, to the point of uniformity, quite literally, place. Turns, sort of regarding you all and goes, so, I am told that you all have become bounty hunters of sorts and that it is in my interest to get your assistance. You are offering to take down the door, kill that hag, and then be gone from here, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Let me get that down in writing. And you see that he turns, and somebody runs up with a desk, mounted on the front of them, and he turns and starts to write out a brief contract.
Yeah, and the mages of Gascalon did provide us with some info to prepare for fighting it. So they were hoping to at least have like some like thorough access past here, at least
Through the staircase down to where
Yeah.
we're staged.
If
Absolutely
you don't mind,
not.
like them doing that.
Certainly not.
Okay.
Why?
Because if they come down here, then they will take things that we do not get to see first. We chose this position very carefully. We will let you all inside. We will allow you to attack the creature on the other side, and then we will allow you to leave. We are not opening passage to anyone. And frankly, I am not happy that we are opening passage to you. But,
Yeah.
if you can be of aid, I suppose we can allow it.
I would argue though it would be kind of like stepping stones. Like if they get past you now, they might go somewhere else before you, but that might also let you get deeper after them too. Like because you'll have this area to deal with while they're fiddling with whatever's after here. So then once they're fiddling
That's-
there, you might be able to get past them again
That's why I
to
post.
something else bigger.
Well, I post the guards because we are busy inside, at least in theory. So that is sort
Yeah.
of my defense on that end.
Yeah, but if you let them go by, like they might. I mean, they've been taking stones and stuff, so like their
Good.
aspect might be a little bit more broader than yours. So if they do get by a little bit farther, that might like satisfy them a little bit and have some, and maybe you could like find out some other stuff from them too as they adventure past this point.
He puts the quill that he's writing with down in the ink pot, with the contract not quite finished, and goes, "No.
You know,
Oh.
I'm
Are we
trying
going to continue to have a conversation, or did
Yeah,
my
wait a
friend
second.
mislead me?" And he
Uh.
looks at Morris, and Morris looks horrified at what you all are saying to the Viscount.
Yeah, it's not a big
Oh, right.
deal. We told the mages that they would not be stopped by us. We don't need to get your thing.
Oh,
We're holding up our end of the bargain. We don't need them to let them past. That's
Okay.
their business.
Ah.
They would have to speak to them.
He turns to one of the guards and goes, "Make a note the mages are continuing to try to make their way down below." Then I
mean, of
suppose
course they
thank you
are.
very much.
Yeah.
Turns back and finishes out the rest of the contract quickly. It is a very basic like boilerplate. We agree. These are the things we were being paid for. You do notice that the bottom is included that you are never allowed to set foot into this portion of the place again in perpetuity for all time.
Yeah, it's easy.
Okay, and then he sort of wheels it over to you all.
Yep, looks pretty good to me.
Okay, I assume you sign.
I
Yeah,
signed.
we do need to get or you guys would have told us about the bounty and the proof of death for the witch and all that, right? So we need to bring the witch remnants.
Oh yeah,
over,
we're just gonna
right?
take her head. Or like a garment. It just needs to be proof that we killed it.
You can take the head.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, I signed.
Yeah.
it.
Very well. Clear the way to the door. And he turns, and that thing gets moved out of the way, and you watch as all the guards literally just like thin out in a little arc around to the other side so that they are clear of the way of the door. And Morris goes, he has, in his wisdom, decided to allow me to give you covering fire.
Great.
Best of luck, folks. I'm gonna get chewed out for this. He like steps all the way to the back, leaning up against the railing, and that lowers his gun. That again starts to float the end in front of him, and his falcon is up on his other shoulder. And you watch as it like leans and kind of gross like cartoon logic. Its eyes open and then expand to be a little too big as its head kind of swells a little to accommodate them, and its body seems to shrink. Like the mass is the same amount, but it's like moving on the bird.
Bits. Can you get Guy out here to kick down a big door?
And you watch as the Viscount like leans up and turns just in time to see the door open and that automaton step up and out, and the Viscount like, you see his face like start to go red as his teeth clench as he gets the sense that he's been at least mildly duped.
We're getting in.
And you watch as Fitz jogs up around the side, and that construct is taking its like larger, sort of slower, stumbling steps. And Fitzroy like, "All right, pleasure to see you again, Viscount." And the Viscount goes, "Don't talk to me," as he reaches over and touches the mech, and it grows from a large creature to a huge creature, goes up a size category, and rears back to punch into this large stone door. And as its heavy fistfalls begin to slam into the front, and the stone begins to crack around the outside edge as it continues to sort of leverage back, we are going to take our break there. Wait a minute. Ooh, we went long. Is this where we wrap? Oh
I
no!
think this is the wrap point.
Can I tell you, guys? I thought it was 8:54 this whole time.
Oh,
I was like, this episode is going slow. I was like, what is happening? It's been an hour? Feels like it's been 2. It has been 2. Then I will say, as its large fist slams into the stone, that is where we will end this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you guys for playing. You got through quite a lot of the sort of logistical leanings of this. You've made contact with the mages of Rumgastelon and with the Viscount. Not the friendliest dude
I'm gonna kill that guy.
ever. Yeah, Viscount kind of sucks. Unfortunately, you did run into one of the very rare concepts where there was no persuasion check to be rolled, because one of the Viscount's key traits is he will let no one deeper than he is into this place if he can help it. So there was no winning there. But you did manage to secure this, and regardless of whatever paper you signed, you will have access to this building for at least a brief time during your fight. So who knows what mysteries can be sort of skimmed
Oh, we are
off
stealing.
the top. Yeah, for sure. And Harold apparently is already planning this man's assassination as we speak. So this was the Party Makes Things Worse song of the Reliquary. This is our D&D actual play. Formerly, Spencer was running a Monster of the Week game. Who knows what comes next? I'm hoping maybe we can jump to a Blades in the Dark, Call of Cthulhu, maybe something fun. I think it might be fun to take a little bit of a game twist, but that won't be for many weeks. This is looking like it's going to be 15 to 20 episodes. We are on episode 8 right now, I think, which is the one that you are watching. So we have introduced the basic idea and are continuing on. I'm really excited to see how you guys try to get the money to keep Bij's kneecaps in place, and how Lemon and Hilver plan to do their research that you guys are down here to do as you also deal with whatever the larger mystery of the Reliquary is. You can catch 3 streams on Foolhardy Press. They are on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. On Sundays, you can catch Game Masters, Masters of Games, where we play games that we feel we already have mastered or plan to master. We've been running through Baldur's Gate. We've had a couple of interruptions in a row here, so hopefully we'll be back on that soon. And I think we might try some other games. We were talking about Path of Exile and a couple of other things that we were, chatting out. On Mondays, you can catch The Party Makes Things Worse, Song of the Reliquary right now, new and interesting things in the not-too-distant future. And on Tuesdays, you can catch DM Writer's Room, where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with magic items, monsters, dungeons, and in this case, Forged in the Dark game systems live. We are currently working on making a Forged in the Dark game that is centered on that thing action movies do, where you're kind of watching 3 different groups. One that is like the real main characters, and then the B plot, and then the ill-fated C plot, and trying to sort of work that in, which should be pretty fun. Also check us out on Drive-Thru RPG, where you can catch our first adventure, Lich's Dollhouse, and on itch.io, where you can pick up The Last Thanksgiving, a turkey-tinged tale of vengeance. It's just too much. It's too much. And soon, I would say probably in the next couple of weeks here, if everything goes well, you'll be able to catch our next one-page RPG, which is Resonance, a mech RPG about playing together, which I think should be pretty good as well. We've had a lot of fun coming up with that in the background. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Spencer makes a lot of great stuff on both of those. YouTube, we've got some videos coming out now that we're very excited about, some others in the past. Spencer is currently in a bear wrestling match with new editing software. So if you've been wondering why you haven't been getting your usual updates, it is Spencer in a Denny's parking lot with a switchblade fighting new editing software that we are starting to get on the wrap there. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that other stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out. Catch you on the next one. Bye.